start the recording. Okay, I call to order the Inland Wetlands Agency meeting of Mansfield, Connecticut on September 6, 2022 at 6:02 p.m. Members present are Aho, Cotton, Nicorsi, Chandy, DeVivo, Fertoni, Butch, and alternate Manville, who is seated for absent members Plant and Cooley. Okay, so we have some minutes from August 1st to potentially approve.
Nicorsi moves that we accept the minutes as written.
Okay, moved by Corsi,
Second by Chandy.
second by Chandy. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, passed unanimously. Now, before we go to the public hearing, which we're going to open and close and thankfully close immediately tonight, we need to discuss whether we want to have a virtual or a hybrid meeting come September 19th. So as I understand it, we can have a hybrid, right, Jennifer?
Right. So if there's no option for completely in-person meetings anymore.
Okay.
If you're going to have an in-person meeting, you have to have a hybrid component. So it's either virtual or hybrid. We did do a poll and people were pretty flexible. I think some people are eager to move back to in-person meetings. Other folks are, can go with the flow. So I think regardless, there has to be an in-person, a virtual component. So it's really up to the group how we proceed. We do have staff. I guess the caveat, we do have staff that can help us with the media booth. So just like the town council.
Well, what do you think? Should we go to a hybrid? Yes, Sarah.
I just have a question for people like Jennifer and Paul who are running these more or less. Is one form of this easier for you?
From a staff perspective, it is easier to do a virtual meeting just because we have to televise these on YouTube. There's a lot of different moving parts in terms of like allowing people in and making sure that everyone can see things. But the town council is doing it. So if that's something that the commission wants to move towards, it's something that we can accommodate.
I think it's easier to do virtual, but I kind of miss the camaraderie of getting together and having, being able to chat with people and see them after the meeting, things like that. I think I'd like to get back to that eventually. Now, as it turns out, today is it's a good day that we are not having an in-person meeting because I happen to be positive with COVID today. Just got off a cruise ship and very mild symptoms, but this is a good time to be virtual and not in person. But I think by the 19th of September, I won't be contagious anymore.
I guess my one reason for asking is that if everyone is sort of I want to go in person, but then they're not going to be at a meeting, it seems that we should just keep the meeting virtual. But
the attendance has been better virtual than in person. So there's an advantage to that.
So if there's only be one person here at the meeting, then it seems kind of silly to have a hybrid option. But so I guess we can always reassess this. But moving forward, either September 19th is your next meeting or October 3rd, which you have a public hearing. I just wanted to get a sense because the reason why we're talking about this now is that you have to continue this public hearing that you're going to be opening to a time and place certain. And I need to know what that time and place, what that place will be with certainty so that I can we can put that in the minutes.
Yes, Binu.
Yeah, the one time we did hybrid, what I noticed was the communication between the folks participating virtually and the team participating in person, there was a disconnect.
Yeah.
In the virtual forum, we figured out how to communicate with each other. So I feel that if total 100% in person is out and the only two options are virtual or hybrid, I feel, virtual or hybrid, I feel that as a team, virtual may be better.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Any other opinions? I think there's a consensus for continuing virtual. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Laura.
Oh, is there any advantage, excuse me, one way or another for like public comment? Do you think people are more willing to attend virtually or in person?
I think actually we're seeing that it's easier for people to attend virtually. If, you know, for someone who doesn't want to drive, or they have young kids, or, you know, they just are really busy and they're coming home late from work. But Luann actually, I think, has studied this, and I think the participation is about the same between virtual and in person, but the types of people, there's more diversity of folks that will participate virtually, but that's just hearsay. I don't have any hard and fast data on that.
Yes, Binu.
Yeah, perhaps, we could set up like a couple of stations in the council chamber for folks who want to participate, but cannot because they don't have the equipment or the skills to participate virtually. Maybe we set up a few stations and they could come and, participate from there.
I think what we've done is we've published the agenda, and if folks want to comment, we will accommodate that. But I don't think we want to do that every meeting, but we're happy to accommodate folks no matter what. And on the agenda, it's listed that they can call in, and we'll help them get established. But if we do see a need for that, I think we could absolutely do that.
Thank you.
Okay, I think the consensus is we're going to continue virtual for a while, and we can revisit the issue later on. Okay. I miss seeing you guys in person, but I guess we.
I think
We
you
could
just
have
need to
quarterly
outdoor
meets.
gatherings.
Yeah,
we'll have to-
quarterly gatherings.
We'll just have to have more gatherings. That's
Yeah.
it. Okay.
Field trip.
Right, field trip, there we go. Okay, so now we have a public hearing which we're gonna open and close. So I open the public hearing at 6:10 PM. It has to do with the application of J. Dewey BL Companies for an inland wetland license for mixed-use development, 2 parcels on Stores Road and Middle Turnpike. Members present are Aho, Cotton, Nicorsi, Chandy, DeVivo, Fertoni, Witch, and alternate Manville. All Manville is seated. So Jennifer, you need to read the public notice.
I
and
do.
And then it would be appropriate for a motion to continue it, right?
Correct. I'm going to go ahead and read the legal notice, which was published in the Chronicle on Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022, and on Thursday, September 1st, 2022. The Mansfield Inland Wetlands Agency will hold the following public hearing on Tuesday, September 6th, 2022 via web-based virtual meeting to hear comments regarding the following application. 6:00 p.m. W1626 application of Ruhi Development LLC for an inland wetlands license for regulated activities associated with a mixed-use development on 2 parcels located at 1659 Stores Road and 625 Middle Turnpike. It's Middle Road, but it should be Middle Turnpike. Assessor's parcel IDs 8.15.11 and 8.15.12. No information from the public shall be received after the close of the public hearing. Additional information regarding this application is available in the planning office. Paul Aho, Chair, Luann Cooley, Secretary.
Okay, so we have a proposed motion to continue the hearing.
And that is on your, agenda.
It says move to have the public hearing in the council chambers. So,
Yeah, so I would just change that to a virtual meeting.
okay, I can try it out.
Okay, thank you.
Move to continue the public hearing of the application on October 3rd, 2022 at 6 p.m. in a virtual meeting forum. That's it.
Right. Yes, and I apologize. That motion is, I'm gonna just, if you could just say the application of,
Okay.
gonna
I'll
pull
try
it up.
again.
Yeah, I'll, hold on, bear with me.
We're missing a direct object there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The application of Ruhi Development LLC for an inland wetlands license for regulated activities associated with a mixed-use development on 2 parcels located at 1659 Stores Road and Middle Turnpike, assessors parcels IDs 8.15.11 and 8.15.12. Via virtual meeting, 6 p.m. via virtual meeting.
Okay,
Okay.
I
Is there a
accept
second?
that. I have a question though. Is it J. Dewey and Beal companies or is it?
It is actually, it's Ruhi Development LLC. So sorry.
Okay.
It's the same, it's a bunch of different players. Jay Dewey
Yes.
actually submitted the application, but it's the application for Ruhi Development.
Okay, any seconds for that messy motion? Second by Cotton. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, passes unanimously. Okay, so that is continued. We had some old business which was tabled. Okay, that's the one we we're just talking about, tabled. Under new business, we have, we just had a meeting this afternoon, discussing the potential consultants that we could have on call. And I think we got out a list at the last minute, but we might want to put that on the screen to show everyone.
And folks, are you looking at the on-call technical consultant, September 6, 2022? Can you see that?
I can see it.
Okay, great.
So there were 6 proposed consultants. We listened to all of them. We read their materials. We found that 5 of them were acceptable, and one with an asterisk, but the rest acceptable for just about anything that we can do. Craig, would you like to add a little color to that? I think Craig or
Carlita?
Carlita. Yeah, Craig or Carlita were the ones that were most
Go ahead,
diligent
Craig.
in reading everything.
Well, the applicants were gave good presentations with the exception of the last one, WMC, which came across to us as they weren't as willing to recuse themselves voluntarily as some of the other applicants. There are some that we've already worked with in the past, and I think all 5 of them, with the qualifications of the asterisks listed, some of them are only qualified for wetlands and not engineering. And there was some discussion during the interviews about what roles consultants could have that didn't have the engineering experience. And we agreed that the 5 we're bringing forward are the best candidates.
Thank you, Craig. That's a good summary.
We also, Mr. Chair, were, oh, I needed that back up. What was the
Oh,
name?
sorry.
of it? It was the ECO, was it?
Eco maps. Yep.
We also saw an interview of a young minority-owned business, Eco Maps, that is a new start, a lot of experience in the area of wetlands and soil science and whatnot. So we were pleased to be able to broaden the amount of applicants with someone who's new, just coming out of the gate, so to speak. So that was refreshing. And she did an excellent presentation.
Okay, we have a, if there isn't any other discussion, we have a motion.
Let's hope that that one goes over well.
I can try that one as well. I move to establish an on-call list effective September 6th, 2022, consisting of the following firms to provide for professional and technical assistance to the Inland Wetlands Agency, IWA, in its review of applications. 1, CHA, 2, Eco Maps, wetlands only, 3, Land Tech, 4, Trinkhouse Engineering, 5, Westcott and Mapes. The selection of these firms is made pursuant to the authority granted to the IWA by Section 122-12 of the Mansfield Code of Ordinances. These firms shall remain on the on-call list for 3 years until September 6, 2025. Nothing in this action shall prohibit the IWA from issuing additional RFQs/RFPs for professional and technical assistance in reviewing applications when the IWA determines that such an RFQ/RFP would be advantageous to the town. Furthermore, the Director of Planning and Development and the Inland Wetlands Agent are authorized to seek proposals from firms on the on-call list when an application is submitted for which the director or the agent finds additional technical assistance would be beneficial. Final authorization to retain professional and technical assistance with regard to a specific application must be granted by the IWA prior to execution of a contract for a specific project.
Moved by Chandy,
Second.
second by DeVivo. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Okay, passes unanimously. Okay. Okay, so now we get to the application of CPH Mansfield. Is that next, Jennifer? B?
Yes, yep.
We're on B, okay. Application of CPH Mansfield, applicant for owner of Champagne Toy Store LLC, owner for an inland wetlands license for regular activities, including new office and restaurant uses at 106 Stores Road. And this is to receive an application.
Correct. It's to receive this application was received and then withdrawn. You received it back in January of 2022, and they withdrew that because they wanted to kind of go back to the drawing board, and they were considering comments from our peer reviewers. They've done that. They have a new application. There is still money in the applicant still has a deposit for the technical consultant for wetlands, and that's Trinkhouse Engineering. So they're in your motion. There's a motion to receive the application, refer it out, and schedule the public hearing, and then authorize staff to re-engage the services of Trinkhouse Engineering to provide the independent review.
Okay. So would someone like to put that forward? Yes, Carlita.
Okay, let me pull it up here. I Cotton move to receive the application of CPH Mansfield LLC, applicant Champagne Toy Store LLC, owner for an inland wetlands license for regulated activities associated with commercial redevelopment, including new professional office and restaurant uses with drive-through facilities at 106 Stores Road, Assessor's Parcel ID 38.109.38. Refer said application to the Conservation Commission for review and comment, and direct staff to schedule a public hearing in accordance with statutory requirements. 2, authorize staff to re-engage the services of Trinkhouse Engineering to provide an independent review of the application pursuant to 8.6 of Mansfield's Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Regulations and Section 122-13 of the Mansfield Code of Ordinances. The applicant shall be responsible for all expenses associated with these reviews. Fees incurred for this review will be the responsibility of the applicant, and a deposit in the amount of the estimated cost shall be received prior to issuance of a notice to proceed.
Moved by Cotton, and we're gonna miss you, Carlita, because you read those so well.
Gonna miss you
But
too.
you're the best reader of motions. Okay, moved by Cotton,
Second,
second by Corsi. Any discussion? All in favor? That passes unanimously.
where's Carlita going?
Carlita has been poached by the town council. That's
Oh,
really not fair for them to poach our people, but congratulations.
Congrats, Carlita.
We will
Thank
miss
you all so much. You know I'm gonna miss you terribly.
Yeah, gonna miss you.
Well, we can say we knew her when. Next up is governor, right?
Yes.
Next time we need a new governor, we'll look for Carlita. Okay, I think that's it for IWE. There's some communications. And that's it, right, Jennifer?
Yes, that's it.
Okay, adjourned at 6:24 p.m. Okay, planning and zoning. I call to order the September 6th, 2022 meeting, Mansfield Planning and Zoning Commission meeting at 6:24 p.m. Members present are Aho, Cotton, Corsi, Chandy, Vivo, Tony, Wooch, and alternate Manville, seated for absent members Plant and Cooley. We have minutes from August 1st to approve.
nobody seems to care.
I move
I'll
that,
make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Okay, moved by Katie, second by Binu. Any discussion? All in favor? Minutes pass unanimously. No old business, new business. Okay, new business A, application of Sam Schrager to modify the special permit for 922 and 933 Stafford Road. And Sam is with us tonight. So Sam, you and I are on opposite sides of the country. I'm in Washington, you're in Florida, and John is halfway between in St. Louis. So this is quite a meeting.
This is why you need virtual.
This is a good reason for having virtual. Yes, you don't have to fly up to Mansfield to present your case. So how do we proceed on this, Jennifer? Should we have Mr. Schrager explain?
Sure, it's, as I stated in my staff memo, this is a fairly straightforward modification to the special permit for 922 and 933 Stafford Road. So this special permit was approved in 2003, and you have a condition in that special permit that the subject property shall not be divided or reduced in size without prior approval of the commission. And currently, and Sam, I'm going to have you kind of chime in on this. Currently, the applicant is requesting approval from the commission to amend the special permit to allow the subject property to be subject to the Common Interest Ownership Act. So this is going to allow for a change in ownership structure so that the buildings are owned by two separate entities without dividing or reducing the size of the parcel. And there's going to be no changes to the approved site and building plans. This essentially allows it to become a condo. So it is, in essence, according to our town attorney, a division. So that's why it's coming before you tonight. Sam, did I miss anything?
No, I don't think so. I think if you look at the site plan, you'll see that nothing's really changing. There's a division line between the two parcels, which is only for the size of the units. And this is not something that I'd like to say it was my creativity, but this has been done before. Reservoir Commons is a good example where there are multiple owners of various units. The reason that we didn't actually seek a subdivision of the property is because some of the improvements on the property would not have the proper setbacks if we were to try to have a subdivision. There is a very small area along Route 32 sort of in the center, which is the common area. And that's just a common driveway so that the people that are accessing 930, the northerly building, have access. And there's a small area right near the arrow right now where the signage would go. There'd be a common sign that would say Eagleville Commons or whatever name they ultimately choose to use. So it's very straightforward, nothing particularly creative, but it does allow for there to be separate ownership of separate buildings. And that's it. Nothing, we're not breaking up the buildings themselves into different units, just two parcels or two units as they call them.
Right. Okay, any other questions for Sam? Looks like a pretty straightforward matter to me. Do we have a motion printed in there somewhere?
Yes, you do. And it's under my recommendation.
Okay.
I just shared my screen.
Carlita, do it once more for us. We want to hear your voice one
Sure,
more time.
happy to. I Cotton moved to revise condition 5 of the special permit for 922 Stafford Road to read as follows. The property is subject to the Common Interest Ownership Act for Connecticut. Further division or reduction of the property shall require commission approval.
Okay, moved by Cotton,
Second.
second by DeVivo. Any discussion? Let me move this out of the way so I can see people. Okay, very good. All in favor, raise your hand. Okay, passes unanimously. Thank you, Sam. Have fun in Florida.
Thank you. If I could just make 2 comments.
Yes.
First of all, I've been practicing before this commission for 47 years, although I haven't been there lately. And I think this is the last time, but who knows? But it's good to be back. I don't know many of you, but I know some of you. And the other day, my grown children were telling me how helpful it was that I used to drag them to planning and zoning meetings. And they've learned how to appear before public bodies. So that was great.
It's good.
The second thing is that when Linda left, I was somewhat panicked because she was quite familiar with this matter. And I want to say that your staff, Jolene, Jennifer, and Sandy did a fabulous job and were very helpful. And you're very fortunate. But thank you all for your vote, and I'm very appreciative.
Well, come before us again. We like to see you every once in a while.
All right.
Okay,
Thank you.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, and B is just to receive an application for the that same drive-through facility at 106 Stores Road, which many of us have already gone out to see. Starting up again, new application.
That one.
Yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
Corsi moves to receive the special permit application of CPH Mansfield LLC, applicant, Champagne Toy Store LLC owner, PZC file 882-3 for commercial redevelopment at 106 Stores Road. Refer said application for review and comment and direct staff to schedule a public hearing in accordance with statutory requirements.
Moved by Corsi. Second by Katie Bertoni. Any discussion? All in favor? Passes unanimously. Okay, number C. Okay, so
It's a little bit different. You have two separate motions for the PCC, so you're just authorizing staff to engage, to actually re-engage the services of Weston and Sampson, similar to what you did for IWA.
okay, all right. Someone like to put that forward? Go ahead, Carlita.
Okay, let me see if I can pull it up here. I Cotton moved to authorize staff to engage the services, to re-engage the services of Weston and Sampson to assist the Planning and Zoning Commission in its review of PZC file P882-3, special permit application of CPH Mansfield LLC for the redevelopment of 106 Stores Road pursuant to section 122-13 of the Mansfield Code of Ordinances. The applicant shall be responsible for all expenses associated with these reviews.
Moved by Cotton. Excellently, by the way. Moved by Cotton.
Second.
Second by DeVivo. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, passes unanimously.
I just have one question regarding this application. There was a field trip scheduled, and many of you attended that field trip. The application is basically the same in terms of area of impact. They have rearranged the stormwater so that it's underground as opposed to a detention basin. My question is, do you all want to have another field trip, or are you good? It's a pretty visible site. You can drive by and see it at any time, but I'm happy to work with the applicant to schedule a field trip.
I don't think I need another one. I think we tramped all over the place there. I got a pretty good idea. I know Craig was there. We had quite a crowd. Unless someone has a burning desire to see it again. I think we got the idea.
Okay, great.
Okay, so now we have a couple of pre-applications.
Yes.
So these are 30-minute max presentations.
Yep, Jolene has a little preamble to read for the new members of the commission or folks that aren't familiar with the pre-application process to kind of give us some guidance as to how these proceed.
Yeah, so we haven't done one of these in a while, so we looked up what Linda used to read, and I think this is most of it. So I'll go through really quickly. Reviews are strictly limited to 30 minutes. Proposed applicants shall keep their presentations brief to allow sufficient time for commission discussion. Pre-application review and any results or information obtained from it may not be appealed under any provision of the Connecticut General Statutes by any person or entity and shall not be binding on the applicant or any authority, commission, department, agency, or other official having jurisdiction to review the proposed project. Reviews are part of the public meeting and shall be open to the public for observation only. No public comment will be taken. The public will have the opportunity to comment during the public hearing process after the filing of a formal application. Commission members may offer comments on the proposed application, but are not required to do so. Any comment of a commissioner is the opinion of that commissioner and shall not be interpreted as a consensus of the commission, nor shall any comment of any commissioner bind the commission or that commissioner's vote on a formal application. Commissioners may offer comments which are contradictory to each other. Any interpretation of commission comments is the responsibility of the proposed applicant. This is a non-binding process and from which there is no appeal.
Okay. I'm glad that you had that clarification for us because I had forgotten some of those details. So our first one is a development on a 41-acre site on Mansfield City Road, that would be near Freedom Green, right? I believe.
Correct. That's directly across from Freedom Green.
Right.
And we have John Schmitz and I believe Emily Mitchell as well, John, on behalf of the.
Yes, that's correct. I think Emily's on as well.
Okay, great.
John and Emily, you have the floor.
Now, John, do you want, you can share your screen and you can bring up any plans that you'd like, or I'm happy to share my screen.
Okay, no, I've got some exhibits. I could share the screen, and Emily, it looks like you're still muted, but yeah, I will share my screen and let's see.
Hey, everybody. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. Also on the line is Jason Kimbitsis. He's the president at AR Development, but he said he was having some problems with his connection. So I'll go ahead and introduce our project. So first of all, my name is Emily Mitchell. I'm Vice President of Development with AR Building Company. As John mentioned, we are here for a pre-application for this site at 2 Mansfield Road. It's about a 41-acre site. I'll hand it over to John pretty quickly, and he can take you through what we're proposing for the site. But I did want to give you a little background on AR Building Company. Can you switch to the next slide, John?
Sure.
Thanks. So as you can see here on the screen, AR Building Company is a 50-plus-year-old apartment development company. We're based in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We have a single owner. He has no partners, no investors. We build everything with our own equity. Right now, we have a little over 9,000 units, and we're located in 10 states. And you can see here from our image on the screen here that a lot of our developments are kind of based, a lot of them are based in the New England region. We have a number of developments that are already open in Connecticut. 2 in New London, Connecticut, that's the Docks and 60 Mansfield Road. Also 1 in Groton, Connecticut, that's at Pleasant Valley. But along with those, we have a number of developments in the works along in Connecticut. We were just recently approved for 1 site in Wyndham. We have several in Meriden, 1 in Brookfield. So we're very active in the Connecticut area. We're a fully integrated development company. So what I mean by that is we build, buy, and manage all of our projects. We're not a developer that will go in and kind of entitle a project or even build a project and then sell it off. We hold all of our properties for a portfolio. So we go into every project knowing that we're making a long-term investment, not only in the community, but also in our company itself. So we we entitle all of our projects, which is where we are now. We build our projects. We have 2 construction divisions that act as the general contractor for all of our projects. This really ensures that we kind of maintain our high quality construction standards from project to project. And then we manage all of our projects. So each of our communities has full-time management staff, and they work directly for us. So any problems that come up, or any questions that come up, whether it's kind of during the entitlement process, when we're constructing the project, or even, once the project's up and running, you always can reach out to the same people you see here tonight. You can go to the next slide, John. Here's just some examples of our recent developments. I just wanted to give you a sense of our fit and finish, what type of kind of project we typically build. The project there on the left is our Reynolds Farm community that's located in North Kingstown, Rhode Island. The project on the upper right, that's Kettle Point Apartments. That's in East Providence, Rhode Island. And then the project there on the lower right is 16 Mansfield Road. That's one of the New London projects I was talking about. And you can see from these pictures that the type of materials we use for each of our developments. We use a lot of brick, we use a lot of white siding, AZEK trim. We use that for a couple of reasons. We think that, it looks crisp over the long term. It's very traditional in its nature. But it's also maintains very well. So, we go into, as I mentioned before, we go into each of these projects knowing we're going to ultimately be responsible for maintaining them. So we choose materials that stand up to the test of time. You can go to the next slide, John. And then here's just some examples of our interiors so you can see kind of what they look like. On the bottom left, there is a typical living room. We use vinyl flooring, floor to ceiling windows, helping to bring a lot of natural light into our apartments. In the middle there is a typical kitchen. We use granite countertops, stainless steel appliances. We try to have a patio or balcony for each of our units. We find that our residents really enjoy having that outdoor space, but it also really helps break up the facades of our elevations as well. On the upper right there, you can see example of one of our community rooms. So most of our projects have either a clubhouse or community room, which really gives our residents kind of a gathering place within the community. But it also has our amenities. So we typically have a fitness room, outdoor pool, usually a kind of a community room. That's also where our full-time management staff is located in our leasing office. And then the building there on the upper left, that's the Docks apartment. That's another one of the developments in New London, Connecticut. That's about 137 units. Go to the next slide, John. So I wanted to show you this because this is what we would be proposing for this site here. The other projects that you saw are our four-story kind of different apartment buildings, but we understand that the zoning here would allow for 3 stories. So this is what we're proposing here. This is a 3-story, 12-unit building. It's a mix of 1 and 2 bedrooms. As you can see that we're still using that brick and white siding kind of feel. Each of the units has a balcony. And also you can see that we're using kind of the different gables and roof pitch to really help kind of make it have that residential traditional feel. You can go to the next slide, John. And this is just the elevation, basically kind of showing those different materials that we would be using. And then this is just the side elevation so that you can see that both, the front and back, it's not meant to have a different front and back. And we're also adding a lot of detail to the sides as well. Go to the next slide, John.
I think that's the last slide there, but we could get into the site plan now if you'd like to do that.
That'd be great. And sorry, my dog just came in, so you might have heard some panting in the background. That was my dog.
Okay, I'm going to share the existing aerial of the site today. The site's undeveloped. It's at the south end of town, just north of some athletic fields, I think for Eastern Connecticut, that are there on Mansfield City Road. Mansfield City Road is located here, runs along the eastern, northeastern side of the site. Pleasant Valley Road runs along the western side of the site at this location. Again, as you can tell, there's some agricultural use that's historically been associated with this property. It's about 41 acres in total size. So again, it's today undeveloped, but there are portions of the site that are used for agricultural purposes today. There's also a fair amount of wetlands in the central wooded portion of the site as well. The site is currently located in the Pleasant Valley residential agricultural zone. And as such, there's certain criteria that we look at how the property can be developed. So I'll share with you the sketch plan that we've developed so far. It's a little different than the plan that we had uploaded before as we refine things and start to move forward. This plan again shows Mansfield City Road running along the top portion of the site here. The yellow line indicates the 200-foot front yard setback in this zone. And the green line you see there is the 150-foot wetland setback line. Again, there's a fair amount of wetlands in the middle of the site, and we're trying to balance the development between the front yard setback as well as the wetlands. And we don't propose any development along the Pleasant Valley Road side of the site. It would only be on the Mansfield City Road side. Wetlands were previously flagged by John Ianni years ago. More recently, BL Companies resurveyed the site. Eric Davison was out there recently this spring, summer, and flagged the wetlands, basically confirming what John had done years before. And so we have the site completely mapped now with all the wetlands and boundary information shown. This plan that we're proposing now shows 10 units, or rather 10 buildings. Again, 3-story building, so 4 units per floor. It'd be 12 units per building, 120 units total. There would also be a proposed community building located at the south end of the site here with an outdoor pool. We proposed two driveway access points, one at the north portion of the site, another one at the south end of the site. And just quickly running through a couple other things we looked at was, again, because of the zone, we're required to preserve farmland. So I'll share that plan. What we did was we overlaid the site. We went into Mansfield GIS and made a determination of layering that's available to us to determine where prime farmland is. The army green color here would represent the existing prime farmland soils. Total farmland soils, prime land on this site is about 656,000 square feet, which is roughly 15 acres or so out of the 41 acres. Under the zone, we'd have to provide for the maintaining 35% of that farmland for in perpetuity. And so I just showed on the smaller side here on the southwestern side of the property where the existing farm pond is. That area alone, minus the water, is roughly 229,000 square feet. And 35% of the prime farmland is, again, 229,000 plus or minus. So we'll be able to provide the 35% prime farmland and keep that land agricultural in perpetuity. Again, keeping the development to the Mansfield City Road side and not getting any direct impacts to the wetlands. Lastly, one of the things before we open up to questions is we had Eric Davison take a quick look for vernal pools. And unfortunately, when he was out there in May, when this project came along, it was kind of at the end of the calendar year as far as vernal pools go. It's more of a March, April, May type of thing. And when Eric was out there, he did not, because he was out there later May, he wasn't able to locate any actual vernal pools. He did highlight some areas that he thought definitely had potential to be vernal pools, whether it was high potential or medium potential. This plan kind of exhibits the entire area, whether it's a high potential, low potential, kind of a worst case scenario. Obviously, most vernal pools are not, 10 acres as this blue square blue images shown, but just kind of gives a worst case scenario of where a pool would be. He did find some indicator species, some frogs there, but no egg masses, because again, when he was out there, pools had dried up. So again, what we did here was kind of get an idea of where the vernal pools may be that we might encounter, any potential ones. And then we drew a radius around there for the 750-foot radius around the pool to get a understanding of what type of development impact would have there. The rule of thumb is no more than 25% development in that 750 square feet, or rather 750-foot radius. And based on a combination of existing development, which would include roads and athletic fields, plus the development of our site, we're just under the 25%. It would again be that rule of thumb within a vernal pool radius. So again, quickly, that's our proposal. I'll just jump back to the sketch plan, and I think we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, let me move the screen here so I can see. So I guess a question I would have is, we've been trying to encourage people to think about family type apartments or condos in the future. But developers keep putting proposals forward that look like student housing. So have you thought about any possibilities of 3-bedroom apartments here?
Hi, hello, this is Jason Cambitzis. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, hi, thank you. I was like Emily stated, I was having trouble before. I'm the president of AR Development. I just want to say thanks for having us here. Regarding let me just, 2 things. One is we can definitely look at that, and regarding 3 bedrooms, which is really what as we understand it, as we see it for family apartments. Now, what I will say is, what we do find is in places where people have student housing, they tend to move towards 3 or 4 bedrooms so they can pack more students in. And that's not, we're not in the student housing business. We're happy to be in a place that has it for the ancillary people that are there, professors or other people in the community. But this was never positioned or regarded as a student housing. So it is kind of a double-edged sword as to 1 bedroom thinking or students. We tend to find 3 or 4 bedrooms or more for students. And we're happy to discuss that, but we are not a student housing developer. We do 18-month leases. So, a student doesn't sign up for an 18-month lease. And student housing, I know around the corner, they're renting beds, not really apartments, which is not something we do at all.
Okay, well, your point is well taken, and I think that 18-month lease probably helps in that regard. For this development or any other future development, Jason, do you have any recommendations of what PZC should be looking for or asking for to try to encourage non-student multifamily houses?
Well, I mean, that's an interesting concept. I didn't really think about that till just now. So, I mean, for us, it's we differentiate ourselves mostly because, as I stated, apartment, it's almost not even a real estate game. We're in real estate. We rent apartments. That place is renting out beds. They're more commercially doing that as a business. I'm not saying anybody else does that. I'm not saying, I just know when we fall into the student housing realm and see that, it's a little different ballgame. I don't want to speak to how to differentiate others from student housing, but that is how we do it based upon our long-term leases and our unit layouts.
Okay.
Yep.
So on the farmland that is going to be set aside to be only farmland, will that then be leased to farmers or sold to farming without development, or how does that work?
So this is John Schmitz. Yeah,
Yeah.
my understanding, speaking with staff, is that in similar projects, the land would be leased to a farmer. or a conservation easement would be placed on that for a farmer, and that, so there would be no development there. I don't know if staff can correct me, but that's my understanding, but we would certainly set it aside.
Is that how that works, Jennifer?
I think there's a number of different ways we could do it. But whatever way we do it there would have to be an agriculture restriction on that portion of the property. So I don't know if that would mean that perhaps a certain portion of that property could be sold with a restriction to a farmer. I'd have to look at the regulations a little bit more deeply, but the intention was to kind of balance development in this area because of the availability of infrastructure, water and sewer. But because this is Mansfield's central agricultural area, to preserve some of the farmland. So I think there's ways to be creative there. I'm going to have to do a little bit more research, but whatever happens, there will have to be an easement placed on the property.
And this will be connected to Willimantic Waterworks, water and sewer?
That's correct. And we've been in touch with them already, but yes, you're correct. All the sewer and water would be provided by Willimantic Wyndham Waterworks.
Yeah, and I would say that we're happy to do an easement over the property. We have no issue with that.
Dino.
Yeah, thank you. So I was wondering what the, affordable housing goal is. Is it the requirements that PZC places as per the zone, or do you have any plans in mind? Or is this 100% market rate?
There will have to be
Hold on.
some affordability requirement for the regulation.
Yeah, if I recall, sorry, but I broke up. I think isn't it 10% at 80% AMI, if I recall, and then 5% at 89% AMI? I could be, I don't know if somebody can clarify that.
So you're just following the minimum requirements set by the town?
That's what we've been following, yes.
Okay. Okay, then on your sketch plan, I just want to understand the green boundary. The wetlands, is that the buffer?
So this plan, let me go back to maybe the sketch plan.
Sketch plan, yeah.
So the green line on this plan represents the 150-foot wetland upland review area boundary. That's the 150 feet from the wetlands itself.
Mhm.
So we also have to keep the buildings beyond the 200-foot building setback line. So you may note here that we've chosen to place the parking on the eastern side of the building. So they're on the road side of the building to keep them away from, keep more or less impact to the wetlands by putting the parking on the east side of the buildings.
So there are a few buildings impacted that are within that.
That's correct. Yes.
So Jennifer, are we okay with that according to our regulation?
Well, what John, I believe, is showing in the green line is the upland review area. So that would be within 150 feet of the wetland. So, certainly many developments are within the upland review area. And he would have to get a wetlands, they would have to get a wetlands license, like, all the other applications.
And it looks like you are going to have 2 cuts on Mansfield City Road, right? 2 entry points.
Yeah, that's correct.
Hmm. And you'll seek the required approvals for that, I guess.
There will have to be a traffic study as part of the application.
Yes, Laurel. You're muted.
Thank you. Sorry, I have like dual monitors here. So that was one of my concerns with this area of that road in particular. It's like the line of sight around that corner to the, northernmost entrance noted here. And then also, due to the proximity to Freedom Green and the houses on the the other side and the access to the eastern fields, like, could we stipulate sidewalks and down that whole area, or traffic calming measures as part of that, as part of approving this after we'd see a traffic study. But that's a strong concern of mine for this area of that road in particular.
I'm gonna have to do a deeper dive into the regulations regarding the requirements for a sidewalk, but I do believe that there will be requirements for sidewalks. But do you, John or Jason, have you looked at our regulations to see if that is the case? I believe this is a planned development area, so I believe it,
I'd have to double check whether or not there's requirement. I mean, obviously within the development, we'd have sidewalks, whether or not they're required along the roadway frontage. I'd have to double check that.
I believe they would be, but I can check that section of the regulations. Also, there is a bus stop down by the eastern fields.
Okay. Yeah, and this is a Mansfield City Road. Obviously, it's an old road. I think it's one of the ones, as far as a right of way goes, does have it varies in its width. I think there's some stone walls mostly along this property, but the width of the road, the width of the right of way varies slightly as along our frontage.
Why did you set them so far back from the road?
It required 200-foot building setback.
Oh, really?
Yes, in this area.
So it kind of ties our hands a little bit, but this is what we've been able to come up with.
Why is that, Jennifer?
That it was something that the commission did way back when you did the PVRA. That was before my time even as inland wetlands agent. So I think I would venture to guess that because this is an agricultural area, it was kind of to protect this, the scenic, the view from the road, so that there weren't houses right up to close to the road, but that would be what I.
But directly on the other side, there's houses right up to the road.
Right, but this, I don't know if the intention was also the area, that 200 feet is that it's a very flat agricultural area. So I don't know if the intention was to have some agriculture in that portion. I'm not sure, but that is throughout that whole area.
Well, what we've done, what we're doing is condemning that to no use whatsoever now.
I agree with Paul.
I mean, that we have talked with applicants that if that does not work for, if these setbacks, they are large. If it doesn't work, that they could come in for a zone change, and certainly if that's something you would like to see, I mean, you could consider that, or you could initiate a commission. You could do a commission initiated zone change in that area to reduce the setbacks.
That would also help impact the inland wetlands. If they can move slightly closer to the road, then you don't have your overlap.
Right, they could be outside of the upland review area altogether.
Yeah, in fact, it might look better if the buildings keep the parking where it is and move the buildings over to closer to the road.
Yeah, we would be happy to explore that. As you could see on the site, it's very constrained. And we're trying to make it work. So
I don't know what we were thinking when I wasn't on the commission. Binu, can you remember why we wanted this 200 feet?
No, I don't remember that as well.
Sometimes those setbacks are just a plain mistake, like in Gurleyville, where we have houses close to the road, and then we've got one or two that are way back because of the regulation. Whereas
this was very intentional, this 200-foot setback. We'd have to kind of go check in with Greg Paddock or Joanne or one of those folks.
It may be intentional, but wrong. So anyway, it's striking to me that we're just wasting that space for no apparent reason. Also, another question I have you thought about the possibility of some mixed use, some commercial activities there, or would we allow any commerce there?
So this is the Pleasant Valley Residence Agriculture Zone. You have in that area, there's the PVCA, which is the Pleasant Valley Commercial Agriculture, and then there's the Pleasant Valley Residence Agriculture. So I'm gonna have to go through and look at the permitted uses, but I would imagine that mixed use is not permitted here.
Because another one of our long-term goals is to make neighborhoods as walkable as possible. And that involves not having people need to get into their car for every single thing that they want to do, which involves putting some commerce or schools or whatever along with houses.
Yeah, we haven't proposed any mixed use there, and that's not what we would do. We would be proposing apartments here.
Okay, all right.
Do any of your current projects have mixed use, or are you strictly residential?
We're strictly residential. We'll be surrounded by other uses, and we'll be in a place like this that's more residential, but we don't do the mixed use.
Okay, I agree with Paul's point that there's a great opportunity between the housing across the street of various forms and the access to the Eastern sports complexes. You could have great traffic for mixed use in that area.
Maybe some.
Yeah,
other... Go ahead.
No, you go. No, please. You
I was just saying, perhaps some other parcel there. We could put some commerce on some other parcel in that area too.
Well, you can do that in the PVCA zone, which is across from Mansfield Avenue. So
The PVCA, I think we were looking at uses such as a commercial kitchen and stuff, right? So
yes,
it would be directly integrated with agricultural use.
that's correct. Yeah.
Farm to table and.
So I'm doing a quick review of the regulations, but the 200-foot setback, it says all new buildings and structures and all associated parking, loading, and waste disposal or storage areas shall be located a minimum of 200 feet from Pleasant Valley Road and appropriately screened. It doesn't talk about. I think in this, there is this issue of it talks about the fact that you could waive some of that or reduce some of that, but I think because of Mackenzie, you're not allowed to do that. So that's something to look at when we're updating the regulations to kind of fix some of those things.
But we could rezone it if we wanted to, right?
When you're doing, yep, when we do the update to the regulations, yep.
Katie.
I can see why it should be 200 feet back, because then there would be a buffer from the road and you wouldn't look at it. You know, housing developments, as nice as they can be, as long as they're kept up, they're nice looking. But as they get older, no. And it's just a good buffer from the road. And I also agree, I wouldn't want to see any commercial in there simply because it doesn't get anybody just driving by and saying, oh, there's a store or something like that. It's off the beaten path. It wouldn't be economically feasible for somebody to put up a business in there. I'd like it to stay just strictly residential, and I do like the idea of the buffer.
We have actually reached our 30 minutes, so.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. That was very informative. And I'm glad that we have a chance to speak without making any sense as doing.
We appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Have a great one.
Thanks,
Bye.
Thank you very
everyone, for your
much.
time.
Okay, we have one more today. and that is for, oh, this is, okay, so we're back to this mixed use transition on Stores Road immediately west of Timber Drive.
Yes,
And so this is a second pre-application, right?
that is
So-
correct.
To sort of let us know where they are at the moment.
That is correct.
Okay. So, Chuck Lee, you're going to be presenting to us?
Yes. Hi.
Okay.
Hi, everyone.
you
Good
have the
evening.
floor. Thank you.
All right, great. Good to see everyone again. I know you've seen a lot of me in the last few months. And so we're back again to give a sense now that we've come to a consensus of what the town and commissioners here would like to see on the property located as 1750 Storage Road, parcel 2.5.22. If you'd like, I can share my screen now and just kind of walk through what we are contemplating. Can everyone see my screen? Okay, so this is an overview of the parcel, just to give everyone a quick refresh of the site that we're talking about. This is the parcel in particular that's located across the street from the PB3 zoning district on the Four Corners. The Four Corners location is on the bottom right of the screen here. And the parcel we will be talking about today is the one highlighted in yellow. The general character of what we're thinking for this parcel is to serve as a transition from the PB3 areas to the south and transitioning it to the lower density residential components to the north. And the way we do that is through the new district and new zoning code that we put in place a few months ago that will allow for development of mixed use, fondly known as mixed use center transitional district. And for this parcel, what we would do is, as part of those regulations, is we are providing a conceptual plan that would then be considered by the commissioners here of whether or not that would be eligible for a rezoning. Upon the rezoning of that, we can go ahead and execute our design process to turn that plan into something more formalized as it relates to topography and engineering. So some of the natural constraints, as you can see, for this parcel includes some of the steep topography on the eastern edge of the property, along with significant wetlands in the back area. When we get to the point after we've, if the commission decides that we can rezone to the MCT district, we can go ahead and refine a lot of these designs to adhere to the standards that we've created. And for now, this is the concept that we have in mind. And today I would like to ask for the commissioners' feedback as to generally whether or not this aligns with the vision that we together developed over the last 8 months for this parcel, and along with uses that would correspond with this MCT zoning. So again, please keep in mind this is a very high level conceptual plan that we're going to spend a lot more time and effort to refine if we are heading in the right direction in everyone's minds. So what we've created here is a site plan that takes the previous split zoning of the parcel. For those that may or may not recall, the front area currently is zoned PO1, which allows for low density commercial office. And the back area here, all the way back here, is all single family zoning, R90, I believe. And so a transition into a MCT zoning would allow for a more cohesive development plan that will allow for the different building types that we've discussed in the past. That would include 3-story commercial buildings, and then residential components that would be middle housing and also small residential homes such as townhouses. And so Here is a initial site plan that we've put together. You'll see in the front here along Stores Road, there are 2 office buildings. These office buildings, we're proposing to have retail components on the ground floor and 2 stories of office above. This plays into the concept of having a live and work environment such that more professionals can be retained within the community and not only be able to continue to grow with the community, but be able to walk to work and be able to lower some of the vehicle use that we see in town today. So having the office and commercial component in the front serves community not only as an amenity for to have whether it's coffee shops, whether it's fitness centers for the local community. We're also providing office space for startups, for professionals to start their businesses in the town of Mansfield. And behind that, we've got components here, which you'll see here indicated by these footprints. This is an example of the middle residential housing. And on the right, on the eastern side here, you'll see these stacks of townhomes that are arranged in a 2x4 format. All of which these footprints are coincide with what we had put together with that MCT zoning regulation package. And what we're aiming to design here is more of a cohesive community that allows for an area such as what we see here in the middle, which we talked about over the years of providing that green space, providing views from each of the units that look out into open areas. And on top of that, we've kept in bearing with the 50 feet of landscaped buffer all throughout the edges that are adjacent to any of the lower residential zoning areas that are occurring to the east of our property. This landscaped area will remain untouched, no driveways, no parking, nothing. It will serve as a vista for many of the townhomes that are along the edge here inside the buffer, and also serve as open space for residents to have area for their children to play or recreational uses, what have you. So that's what we aim to develop here. The current the site plan as contemplated here allows for approximately 120 residential units. There will be about a third of 3 bedrooms in the form of townhouses, like as you mentioned earlier, for families. And then you will also have a third of 2 bedrooms and a third 1-bedroom apartment units. Some of the items that we are still refining are just how the parking layout will be in terms of parallel parking, street parking that will allow for more of a walkability feel for the community as compared to surface parking, which, while I'm not a big fan of, it is required by current regulations to provide a sufficient amount of surface parking. But we can have that conversation as we will be going through the special permit process as we have drawn out in the regulations. And so at that point, and with further guidance from our engineers, we can try to limit the impact or the feel of having surface parking in certain areas on this site. So with that, I'd like to open up to the questions and see if there's any feedback that can help us improve this, and whether or not for us as wanting to push this forward to see if we're heading in the right direction so that we can go for a property rezoning in the near future.
Oh, thank you for that. Certainly looks to me as if you're going in the right direction. Finally, someone proposing middle housing. Finally, someone talking about families. Finally, someone talking about reducing car use. You're singing our song as far as I'm concerned. Any comments, questions from the commission? Yes, go ahead, Laura.
Is that a roundabout in your entry exit, or what is this round thing?
Yes, currently contemplated a roundabout to allow
Yes.
for for less of a traffic congestion. And I think in the middle, what we'd like to envision is something of a maybe a fountain or something, a green space to serve as a viewpoint to separate the commercial component somewhat from the residential component in the back.
And then are there two, so you have that kind of as a main entry exit with a nice, roundabout visual. Is there another, would the other one be an exit only, or is it also an entry exit down here at the, I guess you can't see my cursor, but yes, where your cursor is right now?
So that will be defined once we get to the traffic study.
Okay.
How that ties in with the larger developments across the street. Whether we wouldn't want too many entry exit location. So that's to be defined.
Okay. Yeah, I think the integration, I mean, back to my comments on the prior, the prior development that we were just reviewing, sidewalks and access to bus stops and alternative transportation, and then how it integrates with, like you mentioned, the development across the street to make sure there's adequate, safe crossings, etc.
Right. We would definitely want to have the ability to tie into some of the retail components of neighboring properties, just because we think it's good to be able to have our residents and also other community residents to access both our retail offerings and amenities to and be able to walk to them, as opposed to having to drive across the street just to do that. So my initial thoughts here is that we will have sidewalks provided throughout, particularly fronting Stores Road with connection points to across the street, because down by the Four Corners there is a bus stop where residents in our property here would be able to walk to, I believe it's a 5 to 6 minute walk.
We're just starting to think about about requiring people to have plugs for electric cars. And have you thought about that at all? Whether level 1 or level 2, or what percentage would be a good percentage? We don't have any regulations yet, but I was looking for feedback on what we should be doing in the future.
Oh, that's a great question. We definitely have contemplated it, although it's we still need to do a little more research as to what proportion of parking spaces would have access to those, and where would those be provided. Let my team here think a little bit more on that, and we can come back to you with some ideas of what might make sense for this.
Yeah, help us out. We're doing the research ourselves.
Happy to.
So, for example, some places providing level 1 is a lot less expensive, and you can have more level 1 places, but they're not as useful. Level 2 is more useful, but then people have to wait in line. So it's a complicated question. So anything that you could provide from your peers maybe, or learning about things, anything you could provide to us would be helpful.
Absolutely. I'll come back to that. Just write that down. Okay.
On that note, has this site been evaluated for solar or any other, I guess that would be the main option, but alternative energy options?
We would be very open to that. The part we would have to think about a little bit more is the pitch of the roof. Would probably be where we would put some of those solar panels. I think the other opportunity for that would be covered carports that would allow for some solar panels that serve as a canopy. Those are things we will look into. We are certainly considering that for our other property at the golf course. So
Dinu, and then Katie.
So the entry exits, so you are looking to perhaps line it up with the opposite development, right? So that there are not that many cuts on that road and causing traffic confusion.
yes, we will have to look into that as it relates to how the entry exits are tying to the neighboring properties.
So is this somewhat lined up with what they're proposing or not really?
Our property is not directly across. Their entryway is located.
Oh, it's not, okay.
The
Yeah,
timber.
they can't line it up with anything.
They cannot, yeah.
But I don't think you would want to line it up completely, given the
Mhm.
size, the larger developments in the PV3 district. Ideally, we would have some separation,
Yeah.
so that you don't have a whole line of cars lining up to get into a certain area.
Katie,
My question was on dumpsters. Are you going to have recycling areas? Are you going to have trash pickup?
Yes.
What's your take on that?
Yes, we'll have those provided in certain locations. They're not currently sketched out on this plan, but on our other plans for other properties, we have included trash locations for dumpsters and also snow removal areas to pile up snow in the winter.
Okay, thank you.
any other questions or comments? Okay, if not, thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you. One other question I had, and then I guess the next step as it relates to how the regulations are in effect, our next step, just to kind of keep everyone updated, is we will now take this and formalize it into a rezoning application and be able to move this forward to be able to do more design work based on this feedback here today, if that's okay with everyone.
Yep, that sounds right.
All right, great.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much, everyone. Have a good night.
I think that comes to the end of our meeting. Is there anything else that needs to be discussed?
I have a couple things.
Okay.
The first thing is that we are in the process of getting a little bit of staff assistance. So we will be working with Tyke Planning and Policy to kind of do some backfilling of just some of the positions that we're a little lean here right now. So that will be coming soon while we kind of figure out the staffing transition. And the second is that we also have signed a contract with Tyke Policy and Planning to do a comprehensive overview of our zoning regulations. So the Regulatory Review Committee will be meeting on September 15th, and Tyke will be coming forth with an updated outline so that we can just have things a little bit more organized. We're also hoping to use something called eCode 360, which is the same, it's the same format or platform that our Code of Ordinances is on. So we will be moving our regulations to that. They have components where you can do graphic friendly, you have graphic friendly zoning regulations. Also, you can link it to your parcel and download your zoning for that particular parcel. So we're looking forward to that. So those are just some things that to look forward to. And then at your next meeting, you also will have 2 more pre-applications. So the development activity has not stopped. There's still a lot of interest. So so you're going to have a busy fall and winter.
And I want to give Carlita a fond farewell. We wish
Yes.
you would have stayed longer with us. Thank you for your assistance. And
Thank you so much, all of you. You know, I'm gonna miss you terribly, but I'll still be here. I'll still
Okay.
be around, and I'm excited about serving the people of Mansfield in another capacity.
okay, well, best of luck, and we'll see you around town.
Yes,
Yeah.
there are losses, their gain, but we're going to really miss you, Carlita.
I think we should
Guys.
have a regulation about coaching. Not-
Yeah.
It should be a law.
Should be a law, ought to be a law, yeah.
Right.
Okay. Good night, everyone from the West Coast, from Seattle. And I'll see you in Mansfield.
Take care.
Yeah.
Be
Bye-bye.
safe.
Fine.